Um, back to our daily schedule shenanigans. I've been gone for 4 days. This is the biggest, I think, segment of time where I haven't done a live, which is the past 4 days, just because I've been busy and tired. And the time I had available, I didn't feel like going live like at midnight. I already said I wasn't going live past midnight again. So that's what I'm on. Or even if it's close to midnight, I'm just not doing it. It's not a good payoff. Random aviation kid says hi, what's up? Um, but yeah, it's not worth going live late at night for me, just because I know it seems like I get my best receptivity to other folks watching, somewhere around this time, this block of time, like late evening. But when it gets close to midnight, there's a lot of people coming in, but most of them are trolls, people with mental illness, um, and foreigners who cannot contribute at all to the conversation. So, you know, random says, "How you doing?" I'm all right. Just make a video. Oh, I'll do what I think is best in my own interests. um, aside from that, so I have a topic. So last week and the weeks preceding that, I had a discussion about the paranormal, and so I started it off first with a discussion on the paranormal writ large, which is kind of scattershot as I expected. And then from then on, talked about specific topics within the paranormal. So if you guys are interested in that, you can go back to those previous lives that I've uploaded and watch them. And you can watch the entire things if you like. Within it, it was basically just my sneaky way of teaching people skepticism by using the paranormal as the context in which to use some of these skills, the skill set of skepticism and critical thinking skills. So I wanted to switch gears and talk about geopolitical topics, what's going on in the world, including in the United States, because it is part of the world, right? It's just that I'm not going to limit the discussion just to domestic issues here that we're facing in the U.S. I want to talk about stuff going on abroad internationally as well, because there's a lot of stuff going on that people would talk about. People have mentioned them in my live streams as well, and I kept saying, well, maybe we'll get to that later, because I wanted to stay on the paranormal. So when I lock into a topic, that's all I'm going to talk about. So the thing is, if people want to ask me random questions that had nothing to do with the given topic, I'm going to suggest they drop a super chat or a super sticker, or they can buy me a gift, um, which is located on your screen that looks like a ruby. That's a new way of supporting content creators. They call it gems, and I guess for the live streams, those gifts are referred to as rubies. And you can you can buy a content creator like myself one of those little rubies, and it'll display like a little animated image across the screen, letting everyone in the chat room know, that you sent something to me, which I would duly appreciate. But if you're not dropping a super chat, a super sticker, or one of these rubies, then please stick with the topic. I'm not going to. I, I'm sure you guys go to some other live streams where they just talk random shit, but I don't do that. I actually have a day every week where I say we can just talk about anything. It's called Ask Me Anything Day. Today's not that day. Today is I'm starting off with geopolitical topics. Like, sorry, geopolitics, like what's going on in the world. So I want to know what people's, whatever part of the world you're in, what are your current concerns about what's going on in the news. Um, Random says there was drone spottings in New Jersey, I think. I seen something about that, but I have no idea what it was about. I didn't follow up on it. Did you get more information about it? I did hear about that, but it was in connection to something else I was watching, so I didn't know what was really happening there. Jesse says we're shaking contrarian. What's up, Jesse? Um, but yeah, but it's like so many topics going on. Like so many events going on right now, like that are like concurrent with each other. So after today, I'm probably gonna like um fixate on specific topics going on, right? So, but today I just want to kind of get a general, um, I guess like a general view, a general outlook of what people are thinking about as far as these different events going on in the world, current affairs. So there's a lot of things going on. Like we saw that South Korea was put under martial law to some effect, right? Um, we see Japan's dealing with its depopulation. Um, we see this stuff still going on between Ukraine and Russia, and how the new president-elect Donald Trump is looking to ameliorate that the happenings going on with that, as well as trying to conclude this Israel Hamas war, um, and whatever's going on in Syria. That what else is going on? So we got the whole border issue here in America, like between you know Canada, U.S., and Mexico. And the president elect again wants to put tariffs on Canada and Mexico if they keep allowing the free flow of illegal immigrants into the country. Um, but when we talk about the Mexican border, people may not understand who are from other countries that we're not really talking about Mexicans. The people coming over the border are coming from other countries, not necessarily Mexico. Particularly, then we got to talk about the whole um, um, Venezuelan gang, the Tren de Agua, whatever they call themselves, implanting themselves all over the United States. So they're going to be a huge target for deportation next month. They even spread here to Maryland. Like I can't say specifically, but within the city of Baltimore and the place where I'm originally from, a really bad bad area. Well, it's mixed. Part of it's really a nice part, and the other part is really bad, which is weird. Like a really, it's a really nice community in one part, and then the other part is like a hellscape. It's called Park Heights in Baltimore, west in the west side of Baltimore City. And apparently, there's Latino gangs out there robbing and beating up older black people. I'm like, do they really know what they're getting themselves into in Park Heights? I was like, those older people might be connected to some young folks who will bang on them, but uh, these Latinos may not care, especially if they are part of that Venezuelan gang, because they are here now in Maryland. Like we didn't already have to worry about MS-15 here in Maryland. Now we got the Tren de Agua, whatever the F they call themselves. Um, and, there's other stuff going on as well. But yeah, we can just get a general view of what people of what people are dealing with right now as far as geopolitics and what people are concerned about. And then, like I said, on each follow, then depend if this goes well, then on each following day we might talk about other stuff as well. Random says no, it was on CNN. Oh, okay. He's oh yeah, the CEO of New York, not the CEO. Who's that? Oh, thought someone was calling my name, but not the CEO of New York. You mean the CEO of United Healthcare? There's no CEO of New York. You mean it's like you're referring to the governor of New York, the mayor of New York City, Mayor Eric Adams, who looked like he has shifted right. I think he might be going Republican in a desperate attempt to get a pardon from Trump. Speaking of which, another geopolitical topic seems Biden has now gone pardon crazy. He's going to be pardoning a bunch of people, not just his son. That's a topic. But yeah, you meant the CEO of United Healthcare was shot. There's no CEO of New York or any other city or state. Anyway, Jesse says Mexico is just exit 30 on the journey for most of these people. I don't know even what exit 30 means, but sounds funny. Miss Nita says Europe has serious energy crisis and other countries plan to cut the lines. Really? Is that at all, Miss Nita, connected to remember during the Ukraine-Russian war when they cut the what's the name of that the line, and then everyone wanted to blame it on something, like they were trying to blame it on Russia, then they trying to blame it on the US and all this other stuff. We found out it was the Ukraine themselves, like one of the higher ups in the Ukrainian government cut the that energy, that oil um thing. Forgot forgot the name of it. Sorry, that the pipe. I forgot the name of that pipeline. But everyone was speculating. Then we found out it was the Ukrainians. Like, with all due respect to Ukrainian people, fuck that country. I hope Russia does win. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's how I feel. And I literally, like, for people who don't know, I literally started this YouTube channel. That was like my first video where I was like basically like, "Well, fuck Ukraine," and I still stand on that. Um, Miss Needle says industry is dying. Hmm. And when you say energy, are you saying like energy across the board, Miss Needle, um, like fossil fuels, nuclear, solar, and other green energy, or are you specifically referring to like fossil fuels? Random says, yeah, I forgot. Sorry, no problem. I figured it was like a miss. You were just misspeaking. Jesse says just a random exit number because it's just another stop along the way. Yeah, okay. No, but you said exit 30. I thought that was like a deeper joke. Like it's like, like, so if you live in the Northeast, Jesse, the biggest interstate freeway is, I-95. So I thought it was like a joke, like, like I-90, like we all know I-95 travels all the way up the East Coast. It's also known as like the biggest drug traffic highway because basically all the drugs makes it all the way up the country, coming from Florida all the way out to all the way up to like Toronto, Canada, from I-95. So I thought it was like a joke like that when you said exit 30. Mr. Neil says no, it's about green politics and the exit out of nuclear power. Oh, I don't know anything about it. Maybe you can, yeah, please tell us more about that. By the way, I hope you're doing well, Miss Needle. Guys, this is my little German girl here, so y'all can't have her. So I am joking, but actually I'm not joking, but no, in all seriousness, she's a great musician. So go check out Miss Needle's channel when you guys get a chance. I genuinely enjoy her videos, like genuinely. So I'm gonna give her like shout outs on her music content. Neptune Res is, do you eat glizzy with your whole body? No, that's a job for your mother, Neptune. She likes to figure eight dicks in her mouth. And she loves to keep the jizz in her mouth and gargle it the way she taught you to do it, Neptune Red. Anyway, Miss Needle says solar and wind is not providing enough, so we have to buy from other countries, causing high prices and shortages. See, that's the scam. Well, I won't say it's the scam, but that's always been the problem with green energy, Miss Needle, is that it doesn't cover all the energy needs. That's number one. And two is that the other problem with green energy is that it requires fossil fuel to keep the green energies going, like to set them up to get them going. It takes fossil fuels, so it's like you really can't get away from fossil fuels. What you can do is reduce your your reliance on them through green energy, but it's like you can't just we're not at a point where we can just fully replace fossil fuels with green energy. Plus, fossil fuels are cheaper. Um, and I think selling the EU selling people on green energy might have been premature, if not just an outright farce. Just Jesse says hello, Neptune. He won't be here for long. Jesse, he got one more misstep before I just ban him outright. I don't deal with trolls. I mean, if he wants to go troll someone, do it somewhere else. Like I don't come to his channel or to his job kicking dicks out of his mouth, because I respect his job, which is dick sucking. But I respect his hustle, so I don't come to his job trolling him. I let him suck his dicks the way he was taught by his mother and his mother's mother and his mother's mother's mother. Anyway, Miss Nia says it's serious. No, no, I no, I do take it seriously. Like when you say energy crisis, that could be a serious problem. Like I'm guessing the EU, if not the EU, like the separate European nations have power grids on which they rely I guess, on both green energy sources and fossil fuel sources. So no, I don't take it as a joke because I mean I like Europe and I want to go back. There would be a serious problem if things broke down there, right? So Jesse says post a link. Are you referring to me posting the link? Because as a content creator, I can't post a link while I'm in a vertical live stream, so I can't do it. My moderators can, I think, but I don't know what you're referring to. Yeah, and Neptune is gone. I don't have time. Anyway, Jesse says I've eaten nothing but pineapple for the last 2 weeks and still pause. I'm not even reading the rest of that. Miss Nia says the nightmare plus our government crumbled. Wait, when did see this is stuff I want to know about when I'm talking about geopolitical topics. I didn't hear anything about I try to stay abreast of international stuff as much as possible, but it's so hard because there's literally like hundreds of nations to stay abreast of. And I typically stay attuned to the countries that I plan on visiting or have visited. So I look at news in like Taiwan, Philippines, Japan, Thailand, um, Southeast Asia generally, um, stuff that goes on where passport bros tend to frequent, like Colombia, the DR, and of course Germany because I've been there and I like the country. But yeah, I haven't heard that your government is crumbling. Like that's crazy. Like it seems I don't know. I don't know. If, Tell me if I'm wrong. Were things like better, like more cohesive in Germany when Angela Merkel was still the chancellor? Was she a better chancellor than the current one? I'm just guessing. Jesse says if they were serious about green energy, where's all the hydroelectric plants? The river is free. Well, again, that's my thing, Jesse. That's what I was saying. Like the 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 thing that the way green energy has been sold has been disingenuous because what they don't tell you is that it requires a lot of fossil fuel energy to keep these green energy plants running, which then just calls into question why even have green energy if we still need fossil fuels to run them when the whole point of green energy was to replace fossil fuels, but you need fossil fuels to keep those green energy plants running. So it's like, is it really helping? I mean, I guess in the long run it does help reduce our carbon footprint, but I don't know. I, I've the stuff I looked at and read about. I have to I have to touch I have to touch back up on that stuff honestly because I'm not so sure. But my skepticism is that green energy sources have been oversold to the public, both in the U.S. and the EU, and I don't think they are quite as practical as people would think. Because at the end of the day, we still require fossil fuel energy to run the green energy plants on which they're supposed to supplant the very thing that are running them. So uh Jesse said, yeah, LOL, I've seen him before. He'll probably chill out. Nah, he got banned, Jesse. The fact that you saw him before means but he jumps into different live streams just illing out and being a dick, like the ones he puts in his mouth. So I just banned him. And I'm pretty sure he's banned from other channels. Like these people have mental illness problems, dude. Like they either they either just very low IQ, mentally ill, and they use social media as an outlet for their mental health problems instead of just seeking a professional. And sometimes they're just very socially disagreeable people. So again, they use social media as an outlet because in real life they don't have attractive personalities. So they have to lash out online. I don't have the patience. This is one of the reasons when I took psychology as an undergrad, I decided quickly I had no interest in going into the helping fields of either clinical or counseling psychology because I really don't want to deal with other people's mental or emotional instability. I don't have the tolerance for it. Now, if it's a friend or a loved one, that's different. But random people, no, I don't have the patience, especially randos online. Like, just go seek help. Like, in with the Affordable Care Act, or AKA Obamacare, you can under your insurer, you can get mental health. So they need to go seek that out. Jesse says I was talking to Miss Needle. Mia culpa, mom. That's my mia culpa. Uh, he, he said it's easiest for her to get to her channel if she's on a phone. It might not work, but the ad always does. Oh, okay. She said, "Oh, just type in my name." Yeah, if you just type in her name, it'll take you there. Like I said, please visit her channel. Like I said, her like I- you know you can call me a shill if you if people want, but her music is legit good. And I didn't expect that when she first appeared on my channel a long time ago. I was just like, I don't even know how I ended up finding out that you had music. First of all, I didn't even know you were beautiful. First of all, and she is, guys. Um, oh, I remember because people kept complimenting you on your avatar, and I can't see it from my live stream. So when you left a comment at one point, I actually clicked on it, and I was like, "Oh, that's a real person." I thought it was just like a like a animated image or whatever. And I was like, "Oh, that's a real person." And I was like, "Oh, is that you?" And she was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then I clicked, looked at the content. I was like, "Damn." And I still stand on this. I don't care if the stuff you uh uploaded is still 2 years old. There's no way with your talent you shouldn't have. You should be like way past me as far like it doesn't matter if you haven't uploaded in 2 years. I think you should have like 100. You should have like 100,000 subs. And if I can, I'm gonna get you to 100,000 subs. She's guys. She also helps produce some stuff for me in the back too. Like I haven't uploaded any pre-recorded videos in a while, but if you guys check out any of my pre-recorded videos now, I have at least the most recent ones. I use the intro she's created for me, which is just dope. So again, she's multi-talented, and like I said, she should have like 100,000 subs off the break. It says it's easy to find, and I don't want to distract. I don't know. You don't have to distract. I'll distract for you. I'll shill for you and tell people. But she says, Miss Neal says one of the Eastern Europe countries just annulled the righteously done election because they didn't like the outcome. Georgia had something of the same kind. Not Georgia in the U.S. No, I know what you're talking about, Georgia. I'm not the typical American. This most I'm going to be honest. Most Americans are geographically illiterate. But when you said Georgia, I already knew what you meant. Once you said Eastern European country in Georgia, I already know you're talking about a former one of the former Soviet bloc nations, Georgia. I haven't heard much of them actually. Like that's the first I've heard of Georgia like talked about in a while. I'm like guessing like not much productive goes on there. So it's good to actually have someone on that side of the world actually talk about those lesser known European nations. Um, she says Romania got the election annulled. Okay. So I only thing I hear of Romania is usually tied to like Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan Tate. Like they have I know they have their own fight. I think they've started their own fight. Well, they have a fight club as part of their little fraternity slash cult thing going on there. But they actually started some sort of fighting league. I think it's called the RFX or something, or RXF, something like that. RXF, I believe. Um, but I don't hear too much about. I've heard that the Romanian government is sort of a joke. I don't know if that's true or not. I wouldn't mind going to Romania, especially as it has its legacy as Transylvania. So I think that attracts a lot of tourists there. When they realize, the whole connection to Transylvania, Dracula sort of thing. Not to mention that a lot of the Romani people, or what used to be called gypsies, but they consider that term derogatory, calling themselves gypsies. But a lot of the Romani people here in the U.S., consider themselves originally from Romania. Romania. They usually call themselves either Roma or Romani people. So I won't mind checking out if it's safe. Jesse says, you sound cool like a alt '90s quasi industrial vibe. Thank you. I have all sorts of stuff on this channel, Jesse. So like I talk about martial arts stuff. Um, I get into really nerdy types of stuff all the time, like ask Miss Needle. I get into like all sorts of intellectual nerdy stuff, or just stuff about pop cultures, things like Star Wars. Like if you want to divert me to talking about something that has nothing to do with the topic, just talk about Star Wars or Batman. That'll probably work. Anime, stuff like that. But yeah, a whole bunch of stuff. I talk about traveling as well, and of course, I talk about current events, which is the focus of this is like talking about um, um, everything going on geopolitically right now. Because since I was doing that discussion about the paranormal for the past 3 weeks, it was a lot going on in the country and across the world that I didn't cover that I wanted to cover. So now I'm gonna just spend like the next few weeks talking about these sorts of topics. Ms. Neal says, and here the government will have an early re-election in February. Well, one thing I like about you guys' elections, Ms. Needle, both in Germany and other parts of Europe, is You guys don't take 2 years to doing a freaking election. Like you'll get it over and done with in like 3 months. Here, they spend 2 freaking years doing an election. That's why I was so glad when when the presidential election was done last month on November 5th. It was like Jesus Christ, because the whole news cycle will fixate on the election for like 2 years prior to the election, and then as soon as that's done, like I guarantee you by this coming February, they're gonna already start predicting who's gonna run in 2028. It's like, can you let the people breathe? We don't want to be caught in a current and like a never ending cycle of election coverage between one one cycle, like one presidential election to one 4 years coming down the road. It's like it's so annoying. I'm I much prefer the European way where you guys get it over and done with in like just a few months. Can you also, I don't know how the chancellorship works, because I was so surprised when Angela Merkel was like the chancellor for so long. And I'm like, how does that work? I was like, is chancellor just like a low key king? Like I didn't, because and I was like, is there also like a president or prime minister and a chancellor? So I'm so unfamiliar with the way German politics works. Missy says, thank you so much, Jesse. That's so kind. Jesse says, I'll check out the rest when when I'm not chirping or when I'm doing the stream. That way, when somebody says, what are you listening to? I can drop your link. That's what's up. Jesse says, yeah, it came right up with half of people I look for. I have to work for it. Slade Rose says, you look like Sam Wilson from The Falcon. No, I don't. I look, I literally look nothing like that actor. You're you're retarded. I look nothing like Sam Wilson. That actor generally, I don't look like him. People keep coming here with dumb shit, and I've low key blocked a few words. Like I've literally blocked Don Cheadle from people being able to put that in the chat room because I got tired of it. I look nothing like I literally look nothing like Don Cheadle, and I literally look nothing like Giancarlo Esposito, the guy who plays Gus Fring in Breaking Bad. Also, shout out to Eric, if he's here, for telling me to try out Breaking Bad. I did watch like the first 2.5 episodes, and it's all right so far. I'm probably gonna finish the first season, and then if I like it, then I'll continue watching it. But initially, I didn't want to look at it because I'm not into stuff dealing with like drugs and like like the whole drugs and cop dramas and stuff like that. Because so much of that stuff goes on here in Baltimore, I use usually the TV as an outlet to get away from that sort of dumb stuff, which is why um I never watched the Baltimore shows like Homicide or The Wire because it just hit too close to home. Like, why I want to watch shows about the very shit I see on the news every day, or when I go into the city, I wanted to, think about other things besides drugs and crime and stuff like that. So, Breaking, what I did like about Breaking Bad, if Eric sees this later on, is that I like how it, at least the first 2 episodes, is just about a man who's broken and it's know he's dying of a terminal illness, barely scraping by financially. He's just like, F it. So on that I can relate. Not well, I can't relate like that's happening to me, but I can understand some of the things he's going through. Now, back to the topic. But Slade, no, I look nothing like Sam Wilson, so you're tripping balls. Jesse says that makes sense because I could never see what anybody's profile is when I do a live stream. Jesse says Slade. I think he looks like Andre Brower from Homicide, like from the street. That's funny. I literally mentioned Homicide, and I did not see that comment before you left it. Again, I don't know who Andre Brower is because, like I said, I've never watched Homicide: Life on the Street. I just know that there were like three. There was like three drug crimes related to Baltimore. There was the corner. I think it was called the corner. Then it was homicide, and then it was the wire. And I think the wire either this was either supposed to connect either with the corner or with homicides in some way. Like they were like supposed to be within the same universe. But aside from that, like I said, I never watched either of the three. I do know that, well, I did watch a few episodes of the last season of The Wire just because other people were watching it. So I watched it with them, but I literally had no interest in it. But it was funny that when I was watching it, that's when Cheryl Dixon became mayor. So it was kind of mirroring what was going on in Baltimore at the time with the black female mayor, Cheryl Dixon, I believe. And then the former mayor, the white guy who then ended up becoming the governor of Maryland. I forgot his name, but he unsuccessfully ran for president. Uh, but yeah, because a lot of Maryland governors use Maryland as a platform for trying to run for president. We saw Hogan try to run for president, then he tried to run for senator. He got beaten out this election, so he didn't make it to president nor U.S. Senate. And I predict the current governor is probably going to try to run for president one day, Wes Moore, because he's a wannabe Obama. So I'll never vote for him. I didn't vote for him as governor either 2 years ago. Different topic. Jesse says, honestly, independent people on YouTube provide me with more music than the music industry of the last 20 years. Facts, complete facts. Like that's why I say I'm a stump for her and tell people, hey, go check out her music because it's like actually good. Whereas, let's be honest, a lot of these recording artists today are industry plants. And if Miss Nita wants to talk about that, she can. But I'm pretty sure she may agree with me that some of the people just push down our throats every day. No Diddy. I think a lot of them are just industry plants. Jesse says there's so many people in here they can shred on a guitar or sing their ass off or play piano. Shady Wolf 15 says, yo, what's good? I'm doing well. He said, do you watch NFL? No, that's not what I'm talking about. Today's topic is talking about what's going on in the news across the world, geopolitical topics. I don't watch NFL, don't care. If you want to talk about that, drop a super chat, but I'm not talking about sports. I highly suggest you people look at the live stream topic before you just click on something and start asking random questions. Who even knows says I love the Tate brothers. He said they make so much good. I don't know what you mean they make so much good, but okay. So as far as Andrew Tate, so um a lot of people in the red pill spaces connect with him on a, I guess, on a level as far as overlapping ideas. So I agree with him on some things, but overall his 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 solution to the problems on which we mostly all agree, I disagree with him on those things. So I can agree with him on the problems that we address in the red pill spaces, but his solutions I don't think are real solutions. I think they just benefit he and his brother. So honestly, I think they're more black pill than anything because I don't think they offer real solutions. I think they just give a good diagnosis of the problems and then they look to financially benefit themselves off of people looking for some sort of direction. So I don't think that's healthy. That's my take on them. But again, I do like how he addresses some of the issues. I just don't agree on what he tells young men to do to fix them. I don't think it's particularly helpful. I mean, well, some of the stuff he says is helpful in a very general sense, but his specific things like joining his organization and all this other sort of stuff, not so much. Jesse says, I like the Tates mentally, but it's kind of hollow because he is a pimp. Right. That I didn't want to go there, but exactly. He said, first time I met you, we were talking about the nature of God for like 3 hours on my stream. We were talking about the nature. We were talking about the nature of God for 3 hours. Well, you mean the live stream was about that? Because I don't remember having a live stream where I talked about the nature of God for 3 hours with one particular person. I've addressed topics on theism versus atheism on several live streams, but I don't think I've had a drawn out discussion for 3 hours with one particular person. The longest I remember, like having a protracted discussion with someone when I had this little back and forth dispute with someone about the ontological status of morality. And don't get, I don't want you to think, oh, he's just using these big SAT words. Ontological status, I'm referring to ontology, which is the study of reality or what things actually exist. And so we were going back and forth about whether morality was real, objective or versus subjective and all those sorts of things. And I had a very nuanced position on it. And the guy either didn't grasp it. So he kept going back and forth with me. And then he started getting frustrated. So then he started insulting me. So that's when I banned him from the channel. And so he felt some type of way and he kept coming back under different usernames to like bring the topic up in random other live streams where I was talking about things not at all related to that. That's the only time I remember. And it's like frustrating because I literally spent like an hour or so, disputing this guy in a rational manner. And then he got frustrated because he literally lacked the cognitive ability to understand a nuanced position. Like if he simply disagreed with it, that would have been fine, but he literally didn't grasp it. So he got frustrated and started insulting me for his lack of intelligence. It was like, hey, if you it's like if you send me a gift and I reject it, then who does the gift belong to? So, but other than that, I don't remember having like a 3 hour discussion on the nature of God that I can remember. I could be wrong because it might have been long ago and we had a long discussion. I'm not sure. Jesse says 2028 should be advanced with either Byron or Ramaswamy, then change to Byron and Ramaswamy. Honestly, if Ramaswamy, and I think he knows this too. Like if Ramaswamy as a Republican, he wouldn't make it through the primary. I highly doubt he could make it through a primary because a lot of people in a Republican wing aren't gonna vote for him. I think it'd be more likely that they would pick a woman as a Republican candidate than they would pick Vivek Ramaswamy. Miss Nita says, "Sorry, internet issues." Oh, no, you're fine, Miss Nita, and you are fine. But stop. Um, Jesse says that's the best I could do with talk to text. Holy s. Jesse says, "Dude, I feel you." He said, "Everyone keeps telling me I look like Russell Crowe." See, that depends on what era of Russell Crowe. Like, are they referring to the Russell Crowe in his better looking days, or the Russell Crowe and his not so great looking days? But no, what it is, Jesse, is that you have so some people are just trolling, and then other people just think all black people look alike, and it's like I look nothing like Don Cheadle. And it's like they'll and like people will come on, because people will come on and literally just name any black man that they know, even though we completely look nothing alike. Like the people I've heard I look like all my life, not one person has mentioned those folks. They just mention recent people they've seen on TV and movies. Like I look literally like nothing like Gus Fring from uh, um, Breaking Bad. With the actor's name is Giancarlo Esposito. He's half Italian, half black. He's been in movies since the early '80s. Um, at least since um, he started off in Spike Lee movies like She's Gotta Have It, School Days, Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X, and now he's like the favorite villain in every movie. Like he has some part in the new Captain America movie. I don't know what villain he's playing yet, but he's playing some villain in Captain America. He played the villain in The Mandalorian from Star Wars. Then he played the bad guy as Gus Fring in Breaking Bad. Then he played the bad guy and uh, fuck, what was the other something else? But he's become like he's become the go-to bad guy for every movie just because he's such a phenomenal actor that we know that a good movie, a good action or superhero movie needs a really good bad guy, and he is like the actor you need when you want a really good bad guy. So, but we look nothing alike. I mean, I wish I did look like dude because I remember him back in school days. Girls liked him, so I wouldn't mind looking like Giancarlo Esposito. But the people I've been told I looked like when I was younger was people like Omar Epps. If people ever saw the movie Juice or um, Love and Basketball, Omar Epps. I said people say I look like him. People say I look like Big Daddy Kane. If people remember that old rapper from the '80s. Um, um, People say I look like that guy. I can't remember his name, but he used to be in the soap operas. Then he was in Agents of Shield, and he was in this movie with Jada Pinkett, where he played this successful banker that she was dating. I can't remember his name. Then he played bad guys and some of those cheesy movies with the black guy who always dresses up like the old black woman. I can't remember his name because I kind of dislike him in his movies. But yeah, whatever that guy's name is, people say I look like him too. But all people saying Don Cheadle, they're literally just saying that because that's the first thing they can remember from looking at Marvel movies. We look nothing like. We're not even the same shade. We don't have the same facial features or anything. Jesse says he was also in Glory. Oh, okay. Jesse says yeah, because Richard Belzer was in the five shows as the same character. This says I appreciate the shout outs, but you don't have to do that. I know I don't have to. I'm just gonna do it because I want people to know more about your content. Because like I said, there's no way you shouldn't have 100,000 subs, Miss Needle. I don't care if this stuff is from 2 years ago. I don't care if it's from like 4 years ago. I've seen content creators, Miss Needle, who haven't had content for like years and still have like thousands of subs. So you should definitely have them too. So I'm sure Moon with Fern would agree too, but again, no one else can have you. Like, guys, hands off. This is my German woman. Just straight up. Jesse says, drop a super chat and I will Google the sport ball teams. Yeah, if this is how you know whether they're serious or not, Jesse. Like, I'd be like, hey, you guys want to talk sport? It's like I tell them all the time, if you want to talk about something completely unrelated, just drop a super chat, and they don't do it. So that ends the conversation. And I warned people last year. I said, guys, once I monetize, I'm not going to take like little random diversions from the topic. And, I've warned people for like over like over 6 months that was going to happen. But of course, you have people who just drop in who never been here before. But look, I'm monetized, so I like to focus on my topics unless people want to drop super chats, which helps. And Miss Neo's laughs at Jesse. He said, "Yeah, I was asking you a ton of crap and opinions on your thoughts. Again, that could be a lot of people, but I do remember some questions on God and stuff like that. I just don't remember it being for 3 hours though, because that would be a long conversation. It must have been specifically on that when I was talking about either I was talking about like philosophy or I was talking about metaphysics or something, and then it may have diverged to that. So it's all good though. Jesse's as good, bad, and ugly. That's morality. Mm, well, that's a slice of morality, which most people disagree with, but that's a topic for another day. Jesse says, so you remember frustration? He said, what about as a vice president? Yeah, I think Vivek Ramaswamy could make a good vice president. Remember a lot of people were hoping that Trump would have picked him as 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 VP. I think the only I've and he was even smiling. He's like, man, he's a great guy. He said, I don't know why you ran against me. He said you should have just been in my he said you should have been just on my team in the first place. But I mean, he now is has become part of Trump's cabinet. Like he and Elon Musk are gonna co-chair this new department that's gonna be headed up once he's inaugurated, which is Doji or department. And it's funny, Elon Musk literally got Trump to make a department named Doji, Department of Government um, um, Efficiency. But yeah, so yeah, I can definitely see it. I can definitely see him as VP because when you're VP, people aren't coming to elect you; they're coming to elect your the person are under, so to speak. This is how same thing with like governors. Like you often get very diverse lieutenant governors across the nation because they get brought in through the whatever candidate they're with. Like that's how we had a lot of like very diverse people here. Like we've had black Republican lieutenant governors here, like the guy something still um and some others because people didn't elect him; they elected the governor, and he just came in as lieutenant governor. Same thing with the president. Like people aren't voting for the VP; they're voting for the president. And if you bring in someone as the VP, it's like, okay, whatever. Like no one, like come on, no one was inspired to vote for Trump because of JD Vance. They were inspired to vote for Trump because of Trump, not because of JD Vance. He could have almost picked pretty much anyone. I mean, Trump could have picked Michelle Obama as his VP if he wanted to. The people still would have voted for him en masse. But I I I had hoped that he was going to pick either Vivek or that black dude. Um, but I understand why he picked JD because he could kind of solidify his position in Middle America. So I get that, but I don't think people would have been mad at all if he had picked Vivek Ramaswamy as his VP. And I can see him possibly, being in a future campaign under whoever's going to run in 2028. But I don't want to think that far ahead because it's been so annoying being in an election coverage cycle for the past 2 years. I just want a breather from that before they jump into it next year. Like by next year, like I said, I'm telling you, literally by February or so, they're going to be already talking about possible candidates for 2028. They already started talking about it, like would ALC run, would someone Gavin Newsom run, would um, other people like. It'd be funny to see like AOC versus Tulsi Gabbard. That would be interesting. What if that was? I know I said I didn't want to talk about it, but yeah, just let's just speculate on that. What if it was like AOC, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez versus Tulsi Gabbard? Two hot women of color. And come on, they're both beautiful, whether we like their politics or not. Tulsi is Tulsi is beautiful. I'm not gonna even hold you. Like I didn't realize she was so pretty. Then I was like, wait, she's yeah. So, and of course, AOC is pretty, which is I think why she gets away with saying so much nonsense because people just like how she looks. But she says a lot of dumb stuff. But what if those were the two candidates in 2028? So you had to pick a woman, and they're both of color, you know, but one is, was a former Democrat turned Republican and Trump supporter. The other is a former progressive turned centrist, woman of color. It would be very interesting. Just to see if they pick a woman, they have to go with Tulsi, and she's ex-Democrat. Christian says, I knew I will see you again. Well, you jumped into my live stream, so yeah. Anyway, Jesse says you look like Shaquille O'Neal. I do not like Shaquille O'Neal, dude. He said, "Are you sure you aren't Bo Jackson?" Bo Jackson, like this. uh, I know you're being facetious, but literally, that's what people do when they come into the streams, Jesse. They'll literally just yell like they got Tourette's, like they got Tourette syndrome or something. Like they'll just randomly yell out any famous black dude that they can think of. It is literally it. You're being. I know you're joking, but it's literally that bad, though. It is literally that bad. Jesse says, I can't think of any famous people from the modern age. He said, I also get Arthur whatever from Red Dead Redemption. I haven't se- I haven't played that game. Big Mama's house. No, not Big Mama's house, Miss Needle. That's Martin Lawrence. I'm thinking of guys who who's the cross dressing dude who's made a whole empire from his little Chitlin circuit plays that have become movies. And the movies where every dark skinned black guy is the villain and every light skinned guy is the good guy. um um Damn, what's his name? But not Big Mama's house. Big Mama's house was Martin Lawrence. You're an old school Miss Nita. What you know about Big Mama's house? That movie is old. I watched that movie. I didn't watch the sequel, which was I heard really horrible. But I can't even watch Big Mama's house anymore because it was so bad. No, I just can't think of the name of the dude. Low liver cheese says, "Do you think Biden can convince the Supreme Court to overturn the 13th Amendment?" Trump said he strongly supports the 13th Amendment and refused to change it. No, that's not how. First of all, do, do you know what we're talking about when you say the 13th Amendment? That's number one. Number two, you don't overturn an amendment. It has to overturn an amendment. It has to be voted upon. To amend anything in the Constitution takes uh, a lot of votes, a lot of supports um, through Congress to overturn an amendment. To add an amendment or overturn an amendment takes it's not cannot be done through just executive decision or anything like that. It has to be done through Congress, and it's very hard to do, which is purposefully so because the founding fathers didn't want the Constitution to just be a matter of political whimsy. They wanted it to be an everlasting document that changed with the times as need be, but only when it when it when there was a over like a strong demand for it to be so they can keep up with the times. But they installed all these protocols into the Constitution that people can't just change things in a whimsy. So that's not how amendments work. This is why we haven't had an amendment since the 70s. Like we've been talking about the Equal Rights Amendment for the past 50 years because we haven't had enough states to support adding the Equal Rights Amendment to the Constitution. And at this point, we don't need it anymore. But yeah, that's not how constitutional law works at all. Miss Nito says, I don't know. I just know some older movies. That is an older movie, Miss Nito. All right. You and I gotta get you up on some new movies for real, for real. Big Boss House. That's so old. That's from like the 90s. What is that, like 94, 96, something like that? And you're young. Like, that's what makes it even funnier. Like, what were you, like a toddler when that came out? I was a teenager, so you were definitely a toddler. Let me change my filter. I had it on top chat, so I know I missed a lot of, probably missed a lot of comments. I'm gonna scroll down, see what I missed, if anything. Oh, but Miss Lee, I was asking you, you may have forgot because we were talking about some of the other stuff. I was like, can you explain how the chancellorship works? Because I'm genuinely confused about that. Guys, I'm just scrolling through. That's why I'm not saying anything. I'm just seeing if I missed any comments because I had it on top chat and I switched it to all. I switched the filter to all comments so I can catch everything. Because sometimes the top chat filters stuff that I do actually want to respond to, not just like the trolley stuff. That hoodie fire though. What's up? What's up, Moonlit? Thank you. And I just put this on. It's cold in here. It's cold in these Dar Hills. It's like, like I think it's like 30 degrees. It was colder than that. I went to my family member's funeral today. Like, for the people. I think you were here, Moonlit, when I was saying, a few weeks ago when I found out a family member passed away. So I attended the funeral, and this morning. So I ran and I went running. I went running late. Uh, Unfortunately, I didn't run till about 6:20. Usually, I try to be out the house by like 5 a.m. But 6:20 wasn't bad. Got my run in, and then got ready and went straight to the funeral. Had to go to my grandmother's so we can ride in the limo. And that took, for people don't know. I think Moonlit may know, but for like Miss Neil and others, black funerals take like black funeral services take forever. This is why a lot of people don't like going because they'll do the eulogy, they'll do the obituary, then then they'll let everyone come up and talk, and then the most annoying part is when after the obituary and people have talked, then whoever's the pastor is in charge, they do a little sermon and then ask people, do they want their soul saved, since you never know when you might get called to heaven yourself, so you want to be saved. I'm like, don't do this now. Like, no one, like, no, do that on Sundays. Like, I that's one of that's what I hate about black funerals is when people do that little sermon. I'm like, this is already long enough because then you gotta go to the cemetery. So you gotta drive to the cemetery through traffic. Um, and I was a pallbearer. Luckily, she didn't have to be lowered into the ground. Instead, her and her mother have their own vaults or whatever you call those things. So I know it's pretty expensive. So we did that. Then we went to the repast, which is another thing in black funerals. Like everyone goes to the repast somewhere where you go eat and whatever, which I kind of wanted because I was starving and I brought some home too. Because I'm gonna say it. Uh, funeral fried chicken is the best. It's not served at the funeral; it's served at the repast. Funeral, uh, the funeral fried chicken is fire, man. Like for some reason, fried like the people the people who always cater uh um funerals, for Black people. Those caterers always make the gr- the best fried chicken. They even had like, so I don't eat cheese, so I didn't eat it, but they had like a chicken lasagna. People was like, "Oh, this is so good," and they asked me, I was like, "I don't eat cheese, guys," because they had a vegetable lasagna, a cheese, and a chicken lasagna, and everyone was talking about how good it was. Um, but yeah, I just knew I was getting some chicken. He said that happened today. Yeah, it did. So yeah, it did. He said, "Man, love, fam. Thank you, bro. How's your foot, by the way? You got that 6 million, that $6 million bionic kick now. Like from now on with the screws in your foot and the metal, like you could just roundhouse someone like like, oh shit, son, he just kicked him across the other side of the wall. Roundhouse, teeth, all of that good stuff. Kicking him with that $6 million foot. This is my condolences. Thank you, sweetie. I appreciate it. She says, I'm sorry to hear. Never been to a Black funeral, but it doesn't sound bad at all. Yeah, until you go to one, and well, you're religious, so it may not be as bad for you, but they're too long. Like, pause. But um, but yeah, especially it was like early in the morning. It's like, oh God, like none of us got any sleep. My mother didn't get any sleep. I didn't get any sleep. My cousin who organized the whole thing, she didn't get any sleep. My other cousin who came, she said she didn't get any sleep. That's because she works nights. So she was up all day. My other cousin didn't come because he's currently in Belize. So I'm envious of him in Belize. I asked him did he meet the rapper Shine while he was out there, which you won't get unless you know the history of like Bad Boy, Shine, and Puffy and all of those people. But he couldn't make it, but he wanted to because he was really close to that family member who passed away. Because when I told him, he was like shocked. He's like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, man." And I told him the funeral was happening Friday. I told him Monday. He's like, "Oh man," he said, "No, my flight is Wednesday." I was like, "Nah." I was like, "Nah, go." I said, "You're good." So, but yeah, so that's what I did today. And I called myself trying to be cool. Like I put on like a little suit and I had like a sweater and stuff on and a scarf. And I thought that would be good until I forgot that we still had to go to the cemetery. So I'm freezing my butt off out in the cemetery because it's like 28 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know. I don't know exactly what that is in Celsius, Miss Needle, but I'm guessing that's about negative. um, I'm guessing that's about -5 degrees Celsius, somewhere around that, about 28 degrees Fahrenheit. I think it's close to that. Like I said, the funeral service itself was just long. But everyone's tired. Sitting there early in the morning. Most of the younger people didn't attend. I was like, you can't be mad that the younger people didn't attend because one is early. A lot of like, let's face it, like a lot of people don't want to get up there early to go to a funeral service at 9 a.m. And like I said, literally don't. The only reason I did is because like just this was someone I was close to. Like I saw her like a few weeks before she had passed away, like in a in a nursing home, and she's was already suffering from dementia, but I didn't know it was that bad. So, but yeah, um, well, I mean, let's focus on the news topics. I want to go into that because I don't want you guys to see me get all sad on here. No one's coming to a live stream to see a grown man break down. Well, actually, they might, but that ain't happening. So, nah. I have a oh, by the way, Moon, I have a similar hoodie, but the wife has it. Like, she co-opted it. Missy says, "All right, I don't mind if don't mind if grief is real." Yeah, no, I don't I'm I'm not the type to like blubber stuff like that. Like the day when I heard she passed away, I had like a few moments of I had some watery eyes for like a few minutes, and then I hit my bro up and was like, "Yo, let's you ready to go to the gym?" And that's what I did. I hit the gym. I'm on my manly stuff, Miss Needle. So I just took it out on the iron. So I was good. Oh, no, 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 that's not what. So no, when I heard it, the first thing I did, like I said, the watery eyes. But then right after that, I went for a run. As soon as that happened, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just go run. I don't, I can't deal with this. So I went out for a run. As soon as I came back from the run, you know, I did some martial arts, and I called my homie up and was like, yo, you ready to go to the gym? And he was like, yeah. So that's how I got through it. Like I just did like multiple workouts back to back, and then I felt better afterwards. So yeah, had, well, I don't want to ask you if you lost anyone close to you. So I don't want you to. I don't want to deal in like morbid stuff. I want to talk about happier stuff, or at least talk about stuff not directly connected to us, right? But yeah, I was trying to ask you. So you said Germany is crumbling. You believe, and it's like I haven't gotten that from the news, but like I said, it's hard to get news on some international topics here. I guess maybe I would probably hear more about it if I watched BBC News. I think it says death is part of life, so I think you should not ignore it. No, I don't ignore it. My issue was I'm not the type that's going to sit there and just go into a depressive state like that. Like I said, I dealt with it actively, so I didn't ignore it. I just dealt with it in a more proactive way. Like you know, m- being sad or angry can be used as motivation for a good workout, and in doing so it actually helps you process those emotions better. Like for guys at least, I think we process emotions better through physical activity. For women too, I'm guessing, but for guys it's definitely more proactive for us to deal with our upsets, whether like breaking up with someone, losing someone, having a tough day for whatever reason. It, it's more proactive for us to deal with it through like physical activity. And I think there's some evolutionary reasons behind that. But yeah. Anyway, she's like, yeah, let's change the topic. Yeah. So like I was trying to change the subject. I was saying, so how is it that Germany is crumbling? Because like Germany and France are sort of like the twin beacons. You guys are basically the twin towers of the EU. Like basically all of the EU is basically like you guys, France and Germany, like the the, the paragons of the entire EU. I guess the UK too, but they kind of, ever since Brexit, they kind of see themselves as separate from the EU. Even when they were part of the EU, they always kind of seem separate from continental Europe, not just geographically, but politically as well. Like they were the only ones that said, "No, we're keeping our own currency. Forget the euro." He's like, "Nah, we're keeping the British pound." He said the government has crumbled, as in it's not crumbling; it has crumbled. Like what? That's what I'm saying. What? How? Like, would are you guys in a state where? I mean, when you say like, it depends on what you mean by crumble. When you say government has crumbled, I'm thinking of places like Haiti. when you talk about crumbled, like Haiti's government has crumbled, or when you talk about South Korea, and that might be a topic maybe tomorrow or next week. But their government has crumbled. Like they declared martial law earlier this week, so their government is in crisis, and it doesn't surprise me because like people don't realize like South Korea is at has been doing really well for the past few decades. But people don't remember in the early 80s, like South Korea was basically where the Philippines is now, where it was like on that third world tier. But it clawed its way to the top through just good good a strong economy, stuff like that. Uh, she says, yeah, it was a coalition of three parties and one opted out or was involved in a scandal. They planned to destroy it all along. So wait, so a political party, so so one political party came into power just to create chaos. Is that what you're saying? It's called D-Day Papers. I don't know what Omar is saying here. It says Heidi has always been a blank, blank, blank. Um, I don't know who Heidi is. I don't know if you're just making a blanketed statement because you're pretty much retarded, Omar, or if you're referring to Miss Needle. But either way, you got to go, bro, because we don't do that here. Consider this your timeout. Uh, Miss Neal says, "Yeah, South Korea. I gotta check up on that. I haven't heard of it. Oh yeah, this may. So when it makes news here, Miss Needle, it's not something that can be ignored. Not to say that other issues around the world aren't important, but it's just what I mean by that is that U.S. news is so like inwardly navel gazing. Like everything has to be about American issues all the time. So when they take time out to not navel gaze on just American topics and talk about something that's going on overseas, it's a big issue. Like I said, with because the last time we heard of a country declaring martial law, it was like you had like Thailand, which is like I think that happened like 8 years ago in Thailand when they declared martial law. But what's going on currently in Burma, the martial law, or back in the 80s with the Philippines uh, Mark with the Marcos, whose son now is president of the country. Is like the son of a dictator who kept the country in under dictatorship martial law for like I think like 20 years. A lot of people consider the Marcos presidency or dictatorship what kind of brought the country down because at the time before the Marcos came into rule, like the Philippines was coming up, like it was considered the pearl of the Orient. Like Hong Kong wasn't the seat of East Asia at the time; it was more or less Manila, and he kind of brought that down, which is why they've been trying to claw their way back up to like a more prominent position politically and economically ever since you know the early 80s. But yeah, so when you hear a country when you hear like a democratic country like South Korea goes under martial law, it really calls into question what's going on. Which is like that's why I'm so surprised that Germany, because like Germany is seen, Germany is looked up upon by most other European nations, at least within continental Europe, as like a place of stability and and leadership, not just within the EU, but globally. So when you said the government has crumbled, that is eye-opening. Miss Neal says Omar hasn't said anything wrong though. He meant Ha- Haiti, the government crumbled there. Oh, well, I didn't. My bad. I didn't know. See, when he said, I'm defensive over you, Miss Neal. So when he said Heidi, I thought that was like, I thought he was trying to make some sort of like oblique German reference to Heidi, and he was trying to like insult you. That's why I timed him out. So my bad. Moonlit probably would have done the same thing as well though, because he's worse than I am. He'll go into attack mode quickly. Or the guy, Officer Lumen. I haven't seen him in 2 months, so I hope he's all right because he's a like a NYPD police officer, and he always had like wild stories of stuff going on. So I hope dude is all right because I haven't heard from him in a while. I know he and Agatha connected behind the scenes because she was gonna connect him with her sister or something like that, and um, I guess that they said that wouldn't work out because I guess she was too far or whatever. I don't know, but anyway, I haven't really heard from him since then. So I hope Agatha didn't chase him off. But as long as I got you and Moonlit, you and Moonlit, you guys are my you guys are my beacons. But my bad, that's my bad on Omar. Like I said, when he said Haiti, I mean when he said Heidi, I didn't know he was saying Haiti, and it just was probably like a um type typo. I thought he was talking about you. Yeah, the government has crumbled there. Like it's crazy. Like the weird thing is I still know people traveling saying, can is it safe to go to Haiti? Like, no, no, it's not. And people are like, well, outside of Port-au-Prince is safe. I'm like, dude, that doesn't make any sense. I was like, Port-au-Prince is the capital of the country. Like, why would you go to a country where the entire government is crumbled and the capital of the country is in complete ruins and violent chaos? And he was like, well, it's not happening on the fringes of the island. I was like, yeah, but who's going to ensure your safety if if the government isn't running? I was like, that's like if if Washington D.C. was was obliterated, and so we didn't have any sort of central leadership. Like I wouldn't go. And people's like, well, that's Washington D.C. It's safe if you go to North Dakota. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, North Dakota is cool or whatever. I was like, but with no federal government now in charge, I was like, who's going to ensure what's going the stability within those different? Well, no, actually, that's not a good analogy because the states hold enough power that they can be stable, even if the federal government is unstable. Because that's actually happened in America's history. So that's probably a bad analogy. I guess another analogy would be another small country, like where if the central government folds, then there would pretty much just be utter chaos throughout the whole country. So Haiti would not be a good place for some of these travelers looking to, you know, go to. I'm like, if you don't go over to that part of the world, just go to the DR. Don't go to Haiti right now. I was like, DR is keeping that chaos out of away from their borders. um, which is why I guess unfortunately they're not letting a lot of Haitians into the DR. And for the longest time, I thought that the DR disliked Haiti because for racial reasons, and it's not true because there are a lot of people in the DR that are just as chocolate as the people in Haiti. The division between the DR and Haiti on the island of Hispaniola is political. It is not racial, and that's one thing I had to tell my friend because he thought it was just racial too. I was like, it's not racial. I said because a lot of people in the DR are just as brown as we are. Not, I was like, it's the fact they don't want people coming in from Haiti because and I said because of the politics and that a lot of those people are, you know, violent gang members and stuff like that in Haiti. They don't want that spilling over into their country. So I get it, but Haiti, yeah. Um, this says, and with our government, the coalition forms according to vote count, etc. And one of the parties that came into power allegedly had the plan to destroy the coalition from the start, but it's still under investigation. But so so I'm guessing you guys have sort of a parliamentary system, right? Where we have sort of a bicameral congr- uh, Congress, and we have the three divisions of government of the federal government: judicial, legislative, and federal. So there's checks and balances between those three written into our constitution. So I'm guessing it's not the same assurances in the German equivalent of the constitution or whatever. Plus, I thought because of the chancellorship going, um, going above any particular term, I don't know exactly how it works. That would kind of bring stability because you have chances over a long run. I don't know how that works, or do the chances change if another party takes over? I don't know how it works over there, to be honest. Melissa says, "Yep, I haven't heard from him either." Yeah, Melissa's all he said, "No Diddy, but you did just call us your besties." That's what's up. And Melissa's Burma's the worst. I know because the wifey is doing her Indochina trip finally in February. She was supposed to do it back in either 20, it was like I think 2021 originally. I had set it up for her to go there, and the pandemic, so she had to of course cancel that trip. But now she's finally going the beginning of February, but because of all the trouble in Myanmar, aka Burma, she had to take it off her list for her Indochina trip. So it'll be just like Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. And I think the jumping off point is I think she's gonna fly from the Philippines to Singapore. I think it's either Singapore or Malaysia, and then from there she's gonna go to the continent, and hop from one country to the next. He's at 100. GJC says, "Evening, what's up, GJC?" Melissa says, "Ellie darker than you, fam." I don't think so. She's like last time I saw her. Well, unless she changed. Last time I saw her, she's like the same complexion as as um as Mrs. Contrarian. This says, "Hope she comes back safe, your wife." Oh no, she'll be safe. Like the places she's going is are all stable places. She's avoiding Myanmar. We both agreed that wouldn't be a good idea for her to go to Myanmar. So she'll be safe. And I'm letting her do it alone because that was sort of like one something that was on her like bucket list long time ago. Before she could travel internationally. Like she can travel internationally now because of me, because the Philippines makes it very hard for their locals to travel internationally because they want to keep them from going to countries and not returning. So it was literally because of me that she could go overseas. Like when we, went on our honeymoon in Thailand, like they were gonna hold her up in boarding and check that she actually has a job here in the Philippines, back, there in the Philippines, and had a return ticket and all sort of stuff. And then they was like, "Oh, she's with him." They was like, "Let her go, let her go." And I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Yo, that's messed up." I was like, "So they wouldn't have let her. They might not have let her board if she wasn't with me." That's how hard they make it for Filipinos to travel because they know a lot of them don't come back, which is definitely true. Because one of her friends went to Dubai and hasn't come back. Like she and her her friend and her friend's girlfriend slash boyfriend, whichever you want to call it. She's a girl who considers herself a boy, but whatever. In any case, they went to Dubai and they have not come back, and so she's the very reason that they make it so hard for Filipinos to travel. And my wife was like, "Yeah, I know, right?" Um, so once she was able to board with me to Thailand, that made it. Once she got the passport stamp, and I mean she already had a stamp, but once she was able to go there, she could travel now internationally. Um, because they she's established that history of traveling internationally and coming back. So, um, and she was only able to do so because she was with me. She was with an American. American has its privileges. That's why no expat who's smart would ever give up, would renounce his citizenship. um, but she's wanted to do an Indochina trip for forever and a day. So she's finally get to do it in February. GJC said geopolitics. Ireland and Northern Ireland don't have a former border, but now they're being forced to because of Brexit. It's now a European border issue. This may spark another civil unrest in Ireland. Oh, I didn't think of that. The Brexit might cause another issue with them, like back in the 90s. It seemed like they were finally, settling things. Because Northern Ireland is part of the UK, and then there's wait, I forgot which one is part of the UK, which one isn't. I think was it Northern Ireland is part of the UK and Ireland isn't, or was it vice versa? I forgot which. Sorry, American brain. Um, Catherine G says hello. What's up, Catherine? Mm, Northern is part of UK. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, I got it right. I was unsure of myself if I I was like I thought it is Northern Ireland, but yeah, it was Northern Ireland that was the one that was doing all the terrorism at one point, though, right? Because they wanted to rejoin Ireland. Well, some of the people wanted to rejoin Ireland, whatever. So I don't know. So Ireland is separate from the UK, unlike Scotland, right? So Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, England, and I think that's every. I think that's all of them make up the UK, and then Ireland is a separate thing unto itself. Agatha says good night, checking in. What's up, Agatha? Catherine says I was living in the UK in '97 and '98. There were several bomb scares there during that time that I was there. Hmm. That's what what was that group called? The IRA or something? Is that the name of the little that little separatist group? GJC says we want one Ireland nation, but the UK stands in the way. I don't think that's going to happen though. At this point, it, it's not going to happen. Like it would cause. I think it would cause more problems trying to unify Northern Ireland with Ireland than just letting it be as it is. It's sort of like so with China, they have part of Mongolia. Um, I think so. The part of Mongolia that's under this part of the Republic of China, sorry, People's Republic of China. I don't want to confuse it with Taiwan, which is considered they call themselves Republic of China, but the People's Republic of China, China, the mainland, I guess we can say. So I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube. um, part of them is part of their the northern part of the country is inner. It's called I guess Inner Mongolia, and so they refer to the part that's not part of China as Outer Mongolia. At this point, like I said, it just becomes unlikely that that's gonna now they're going to unify Inner Mongolia and Outer Mongolia as one unified nation, just as unlikely as Northern Ireland and Ireland is going to become one unified nation, or that India and Pakistan and the other country are going to become unified again. Like they're at this point they're separate. Forget about it. um, Northern Sudan, Southern Sudan. You can name so many of the examples. Um, Alaska and Russia. I mean, but yeah, it it would cause more turmoil to try to fight for their independence from the UK than just let it be as it is. It's not going to happen. I mean, people can want what people people can want what they want, but what may be considered, but what may be likely is a whole different story. What is practical might be a whole different story. Oh, you shouldn't have. No, GJC is good. Well, you didn't have to time him out. He's a good guy. He was just saying I think he's GJC is part Irish himself. He was just saying that Northern Ireland, there's like obviously there's still a lot of sentiment amongst the Irish that they want Northern Ireland to be unified with Ireland, the nation sovereign to the UK, independently sovereign to the UK. And I was just saying I don't think they can want what they want, but I don't really think that's a practical idea at this point. Just like, and I know I'm going to get obliterated for saying this, but it's just as unlikely now that with the two states, with the proposed two-state solution between Israel and Palestine, that like the, that the Gaza Strip is going to be independent of Israel. Like that's not practical. What was practical is that back in like I believe in like 2007, the Israeli government made all the Israeli citizens pull out of the Gaza Strip, and they said no, this is for the Palestinians, and they elected their own government, which was Hamas, unfortunately, which is why the Palestinian Authority never sought to have a duly elected government because they were scared they were going to do the same thing as the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, which is elect another uh, radical Islamic group like either Hamas or another group like it. And so that's why in the other Palestinian territories, they didn't give them the right, the, the Palestinian territory authorities themselves decided not to have an elected government because they were scared that the people would elect another radical Islamic group like the folks there in Gaza. But when Israel pulled out of the Gaza Strip in 2007, the place was not a hellhole. The people moving in turned it into a hellhole, which is crazy through constant warfare with with the Israeli government. But like I said, the Israeli government in 2007 made all its Israeli Jewish citizens leave the Gaza Strip and let them settle there. So at this point, it's just even if they do a two-state solution, I don't see them giving back Gaza. It was a hard, and besides that, they won it through conflicts of war. Like people don't understand this. I've mentioned this in YouTube shorts before, but the Gaza Strip didn't belong to Palestine at the time. Before Israel won it, it belonged to Egypt. Egypt lost it to Israel in its many wars. Like people forget how many um, Arab-Israeli wars there have been fought since the nation was established. Um, I think there's been 5 Israeli-Arab wars, not to mention the five. I mean, not to mention the 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 different conflicts that the con I forgot the name of it. The infantadas or infantitas, however you say it. It was like several of them where they tried to overthrow the Israeli government. But anyway, in either the third or fourth Israeli-Arab War. Egypt invaded and attacked Israel. They lost, and then they so Israel took Gaza, and then the war afterwards, they tried to reclaim Gaza and lost again. So it's like, that's kind of your fault. So people talking about free Palestine. It was like, how this shit never belonged to Palestine. It belonged to Egypt, and they lost it because they attacked Israel and got their asses kicked. But it's like people just say free Palestine because it's because it sounds good to say, because it's just because they care more about white versus brown than who's actually the more who actually has better claim to the land. It's like it was not part of Palestine; it was part of Egypt. And Egypt lost it, attacking Israel, and then they went on another war to to try to reclaim Gaza and lost again. So their fault. Catherine says catchphrase. What was the catchphrase? Something I mentioned. Agatha, I don't see your wrench. I mean your wrench on the. It says you're still standard moderator, but I don't see a wrench for some reason. All right, I'm back. I just wanted to check something here. Hold up. Let me go one more time, guys. And back again. Agnes says someone at work to us. Someone at work told us we Americans have to get the era to go to Europe. The era? What do you mean the era? The Taylor Swift era? I don't know what you mean by era. Big Shrimp says, "What's the underlining meaning of war?" What? That that's a vague question. You gotta kind of limit the scope of that question a little bit to get a good. Um, that's a very vague question. I don't like dealing with vague questions. I think people sometimes, and I'm not saying you, Big Shrimp, by the way. Oh, Molded already timed him out. Yeah, had to talk about it. I think I I don't know unless you know him from some other stuff, Moonlit, but it seemed like he was asking a genuine question. It just wasn't a good one. I was about to say sometimes people ask very vague questions thinking it's philosophical when they're not. They're just bad questions. And that just shows that people don't have training in actual philosophy because they can't tell a difference between a vague question and a good question and a philosophical question because and a lot of pseudo wisdom comes from like things that sound profound, but when you actually look at it carefully, it's either just something that's pat. It's either something that's just like a, a empty truism, or it's like patently false, but would be profound if it were true, which is what the late philosopher Daniel Dennett used to call deepities, because they're things that sound deep, but they really aren't. Agnes is the new visa. I can't remember the name. Oh, okay. No, not in the U.S. The U.S. has the U.S. like a few other fortunate um, countries are allowed free travel within the Schengen countries. That's something I actually wanted to talk to Miss Needle about um, off air. Because not because of me, because the wifey's having some issues with that. So I wanted to. So hopefully she'll see the messages I dropped her on Instagram. Um, but yeah, no, the American passport allows uh, open travel throughout the Schengen countries. So I haven't heard anything about that changing yet. It would probably, because if they were to change that, that would be big news that Americans can no longer openly travel through the Schengen countries. We want the reason why our passport is still very powerful is because it allows us free travel through the Schengen countries. So I don't know. I'm guessing the person who said that at work does not travel abroad. Well, I'm sorry, Virgin Islands doesn't count. That's like still the U.S. If it's the U.S. Virgin Islands, you don't need a passport to go to St. Thomas. St. Croix, you do because that's the British Virgin Islands. You do need a passport, but you could probably get there just island jumping from St. Thomas. But in any case, when I say that your coworker doesn't travel, I mean he probably doesn't travel over like you know over oceans because I've not heard of anything where Americans can't freely travel within the Schengen countries yet. Matter of fact, I know passport bros who are still currently going there to places like Spain. Like Spain is a very um, frequented country amongst the passport brothers because of uh, the low costs, the 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 culture and vibe, as well as the women are very you know fit and feminine and friendly. So I haven't heard any restrictions on us yet. I mean, it could happen, or it may be happening because of what Miss Nita was saying that she's saying that their government has crumbled, which I haven't heard anything about yet. But I'm gonna take her word for it because she knows more than Germany than I would, since she's living there. And she said the country has crumbled. But other than that, I don't know. I haven't heard that we're restricted to travel to there or anywhere else. Only for instance, the correct visa laws are strict, but not so much for Americans. Yeah, like I said, American passport holders have free travel within the Schengen countries. Unfortunately, the Philippines don't. Like, and I didn't know that until recently, unfortunately, that just like they have restricted travel to America, they also have restricted travel to the Schengen countries. I didn't know that. So they can travel to Europe, but not the Schengen countries of Europe. But the Schengen countries are the most, I mean, let's be honest, the most desirable places usually to visit or to expatriate to. So this water are the tears of haters. Salt and sweet. Melissa says he said W Agatha, W Miss Nito, W Miss Katran, W Cat, and W Chat. Thank you, man. He said, okay, question. What okay. Oh, I thought that was your question. That's Agatha. I'm sorry. Agatha says, so what about England? Do they have restrictions on this? No. Who is telling you that? Like whoever's telling you that doesn't travel, they don't know what they're talking about. We don't have these are the places most Americans travel to is the UK and the Schengen countries of Europe. This is why America has one of the most powerful passports in the world. We don't have the most powerful, like it's dropped down in status over the past 2 decades, but like the most powerful one right now is Singapore, and next to that is Japan, which was formerly the most powerful, and then like I think the UAE also has one of the most powerful passports. I think theirs is actually above the US right now, but the UK and the US still one of the most powerful passports in the world. So whoever told you that we cannot freely travel to the UK or to the Schengen countries of Europe doesn't know what they're talking about. That's that's pure cap. Uh, Agnes says hi moonlit. Cat says W moonlit word. Moon says how do you feel when you're an when you're you're an expatriate or when you hear expatriate? Um, I don't have a problem with it. Like expatriate, expatriate is just a nice way of saying it. It's funny. Like it's kind of unfair because when Americans live abroad, they're not considered immigrants. They're considered expatriates. But when people come here, they're considered immigrants or immigrants. It's like because we're Americans, we get a better we get a better title than immigrant. We're just called expats. So I don't have a problem with it. Yeah, I'm not reading that dude's username. I'm just calling him Hugh because it's obviously, you know, a play on words. He was saying, "Why are we the Maryland coaches something something when they lose?" I don't know. Don't care. Doesn't have anything to do with the topic. So I'm glad Moonlit timed him out. Melissa's never thought of that. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Like I said, um, I've never heard the term expat used in a derogatory sense. If anything, like I said, it seems like it's sort of a euphemism for Americans being immigrants in other countries. Like we don't say these are American immigrants; they say these are American expats or expatriates. So, um, but it can be used derogatorily. I'm sure, like anything can be turned into a derogatory term if depending on the context. Like passport bros wasn't originally a derogatory term. Now some people use it in a derogatory term. I mean, in a derogatory sense, but I don't take it in a derogatory sense. If anything, when people try to use it in a derogatory sense, I double down on it just for the fact that that means they don't travel and I do. So, Mullen says expat is a term that I never liked, but the way you said it makes sense. Yeah, like it's nothing bad. I think you don't like it because it says ex patriot, so it's not expatriate. It's not expatriate. It's ex it's ex expatriate. So I think you're caught up on that because you're thinking it means like you're no longer patriotic towards your country. That's not what it means. Expatriate just means you left America and are living abroad as an American. That's what it means. It doesn't mean that you're not patriotic because expats can still vote. That's what I was telling you during the election cycle. I was like, dude, you can still, you can still vote from Thailand. That's what I was trying to tell you. So you're not, like I said, I think the way you understood the term, you thought it meant like expatriate, like no longer patriotic to the country, but that's not what it means. Expatriate, it's called expatriate, not expatriate, which means you're living abroad as an American. Like you left your country. That's all it means. It doesn't. You're thinking it has some sort of connotation towards no longer being familiar or patriotic with your country, but that's that's not the denotation of the word. That's not the original denotation of the word, and I haven't seen it as the connotation either. If and I don't want to get you caught up in words. Denote means like the actual like what it I don't want to get into too much philosophy of language here, but to denote versus connote, like denote is like what something refers to as far as its original meaning or usage, whereas connotation goes beyond its original usage to have like social implications and stuff like that. I'll leave it simply in that sense. But I haven't heard of it. I haven't heard of expat really having a negatory, excuse me, a negative connotation, and its denotation definitely isn't derogatory. So, um, Catherine says I always say expats as ex-army living abroad. A lot of them are. A lot of expats are veterans. So that's what I'm saying. It's not a bad thing. It's like a lot of expats are veterans, and they're either veterans or retirees living abroad. The broad majority of expats are either veterans or retirees living overseas. But nowadays, there also a lot of them are digital nomads, or people who live between both America and the U.S. Like, I mean, both between America and another country. Like, they may live a significant amount of time in one country, like in Thailand, then come back to America, then go back to Thailand, and just cycle back and forth. That's also an expat as well. So you have different types of expats, but by and large, the biggest majority of expats are usually veterans and retirees. Retirees because their money goes farther overseas in places like Southeast Asia and in Latin America. Um, Daniel Berry Sports Highlight says, "What's up, everyone? What's up, Daniel?" Mola says, "Correct." Catherine says, "Sound has gone for me. Anyone else?" Um, oh shit. Oh, okay. My fault, guys. I had the volume down really low. Thank you for correcting me on that. I'm sorry. Mic check. Can everyone can hear me now? But yeah, Mola says also your mic is low. Agnes says yes, no sound. Agnes says sound is very low, fam. Yeah. So sound is very low. We good on that, guys? Check my filters. Still super low. Good now. Okay. Good. I think I was holding the volume button from the way I'm holding the phone. I must have been pushing on the volume. Didn't realize it. My bad. Hold it a different way because I'm trying to hold it away because I don't want to cover up the mic because the mic. I mean not the mic. The yeah, well the mic and is right next to where the little stylus is. So this I don't know why they have it bunched together like that. It's like my little stylus. No, the sound was low because I was showing how if I cover up the mic with the way I'm holding the phone, it affects the volume as well. So I'm trying to hold it in a way where I'm not both where I'm neither pressing the volume nor if I'm accidentally covering the mic with my hand. It sounds like a rap lyric though. Covering the mic with my hand because I get it in demand. You know how I stand. Let me stop. So my bad. Melissa says still low but much better. Catherine says I've put my sound up to 100%. Let me take it off the charge. You like those bars, right? Bars. I'm about to get some ice cream after I get off here. I saw some eggnog ice cream. I'm gonna have to check that out. I like eggnog. I just don't. I don't drink the type of spiced eggnog you guys do with the little spritz of. I don't know. They mix an eggnog. I'm guessing rum. People put rum in it, but yeah, I've never drank spiced eggnog. Just the virgin eggnog. But the eggnog ice cream, yeah. He said W bars. Catherine says yum. Yo, don't make me spit. Yo, all right. Because you guys are around my age, well, except for Agatha. But
Uh, when you guys used to get like drunk back in the day, and like I said, this is how you know it's a long time ago. 'Cause I haven't drank since college. But when you guys used to drink, did you guys used to start trying to do a cipher? Like I don't know why my friends used to do that. None of us can rap. Then all of us get drunk and we start a cipher like yo, yo, and we would just be saying random shit. It just was dumb. But when you're drunk, it doesn't matter. Everything sounds good when you're drunk. He was like, "Yo, my name is Amon. I get it on demand." It was just dumb, yo. It was funny as hell. Like we were on our way to the club because they preferred buying their own drinks and getting lit before we got to the club, which is why we always got to the club like at freaking midnight. Whereas my Indian homeboy, he was smart. Like we would just get to the club early and just fill up on free drinks before 11. So, but they always wanted to do something stupid. Like they get lit and then they want to start a cipher. Not one of us can rap. uh, Moon says I can't mess with eggnog. Oh, my lactose intolerance, right? Catherine says eggnog isn't big in Australia. That's what she said. It's like Catherine says nope. Moon said yes. More of a roast battle than it becomes a cipher. Now we weren't really roasting each other. We were just like, I don't know. I think because all those years of watching the BET Hip Hop Awards, and if you ever watched the BET Hip Hop Awards, they will always do those little ciphers. And I remember one year Eminem killed it, but he was talking about Trump, and that was like again that was back in the day when I was anti-Trump. This was like 8 years ago, and I was mad because like it was a good it was a good it was a good freestyle, but it was like all these little liberal left pansy white dudes talking about, well, I never liked rap, but because Eminem said this stuff about Trump, I'm gonna start listening now. I was like, man, suck a dick. It's like he wasn't saying anything that other rappers weren't saying at the time, but because he said it now, they're gonna listen to it. Like, whatever. I mean, it was dope. Don't get me wrong, but he didn't say anything about the about the president at the time that other rappers hadn't said themselves, but he garnered more attention just because, you know. Catherine says never had. Oh, I thought you had eggnog before. You just said it's not common there, but you said you never had eggnog. She said love. Agnes says love eggnog. So good. Moonless is my guy. He said your accent came out. You called me Joe. He said tell me you from Maryland without telling me you from Maryland. No, we don't say Joe in Baltimore. That's a DC thing. They either say Joe or Young. They don't say Yo. In Baltimore, we're known for saying Yo for like we're known like if you're gonna say accent like we're known for saying Yo in sentences where it doesn't make sense. Like people be like Yo. Like there's like a like 10 there's like 10 different the way you the intonation of yo in Baltimore can mean like 10 different things. Like, yo, 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 yo. Like we people people in Baltimore use the word yo all the time. But Joe or Young, that's definitely a DC thing. Like I remember at one point when I first moved to DC, I tried to like and kind of imitate them how they talked. And so when I came back to Baltimore, I was like talking like them and dressing like them. But it never really took. Like I probably did that for a year, then I just switched back to my normal way I talk. Catherine says, "Yo, your mic got real quiet there for a bit." Oh, it's funny. I don't know if it's my volume. Let me make sure I don't have anything stuffed in the mic. Give me a second, guys. It looks clear. From Melissa, it says, "Fam, I can't even spell intonation." But you know what I mean when I say intonation, like the way um, the the way you speak the word can give it a different tense. Like in like as a matter of fact, like in contemporary linguistics, we if you guys remember like grammar from elementary school, they taught the little sentence tree. Or sometimes they might have did the sentence diagram chart. Either one, the sentence tree I think is easier than doing a sentence diagram, where it goes, where the sentence diagram goes vertically, where the sentence tree goes horizontally, and it would start like in classical linguistics, it would start with the IP, the inflective phrase, but in modern linguistics, they've dumped the IP or inflective phrase for the tense phrase, which is like the basic unit. Um, Instead of it being the sentence isn't the basic unit, the TP is the tense phrase, and you break that down from tense phrase to noun phrase, determiner phrase, verb phrase, prepositional phrase, and so because they think now like the diff, you can you have different meanings within syntactic grammar through the tense of what you of your what you're uttering, right? So so it makes sense that depending on your intonation of yo, that could be a complete different tense phrase than another one. Like in one sense, it could be a yo could be a question. In the other one, it could be like a reply. In another one, it could be a threat. So it make if I broke it down in like nerdy linguistics, it would make sense. He, Captain says tone, yes. Molly says I get it. Yeah, I don't want to be a linguistics nerd right now. Um, Miss Needle dipped out. She probably went to bed knowing her. She says she's back on her regular sleep cycle, which is great because with all her health problems, I want her to be healthy. But I enjoy seeing her on here though and talking with her. Yeah, she's very dear to me, and I will totally cock block anyone from, from having her. um, but now I'm gonna look into that. Like the only thing I heard something about Germany a week or two ago, but the, the way she's making it sound, it should be more of an issue because like I haven't heard of the country crumbling. Like I said, the most divisive issue I heard was South Korea declaring martial law. I'm like South Korea, but it makes sense. A lot of countries right now are having pushback against leftist sorts of politics or policies. I don't know if that's the case of what's going on in South Korea, but I think there is sort of a sort of a reflexive pattern going on internationally where uh, right leaning governments are starting to reclaim power. And I don't know if that had anything to do with what's going on in South Korea or in Germany or some other places. But when she says the government has crumbled, I guess I took it. I probably incorrectly took it to mean it became a failed state because Germany is definitely not a failed state. A failed state is like the Sudan or Haiti. or Somalia, places like that. Those are failed states. Melissa says South Korea going through stuff and things. Kathleen says LOL. Melissa says I got forensic facts. Forensic facts. Then you remember Thailand 8 years ago? They had a military coup. This was why Taylor Swift didn't go there because my wife's a Swifty fan, so everything is lens glance through the lens of the Taylor Swift. And I remember the military coup, and that was supposed to be her first appearance in Thailand because most international, most American pop stars, when they travel internationally, pretty much the only places they go to in Asia is Tokyo and Singapore. That's pretty much it. Um, and because like usually either the venues are too small in those other countries for them. For Taylor, she was saying it was too, some of those venues are too small for her to put on her whole thing. That's why she didn't come to the Philippines, even though she's performed in the Philippines in the past. So I'm like, what? But whatever. But she was supposed to do a big thing back in 2016. I think it was 2016 in Thailand. So they had that military coup. So now I know the Thailand government is has been actively trying to woo big pop stars like Taylor Swift to come there to perform in places like I guess like Bangkok, especially after the success of the that concert in Pattaya last year. I forgot what it's called, but a lot of American artists was like, I've never traveled so far before. I'm like, how the fuck you a international recording artist, pop star, or whatever, and you've never traveled that far to these countries. I was like, I wouldn't want to be an international celebrity if I didn't travel to these sorts of places. I wouldn't want to just perform in America. I would want to travel to random places like I'm gonna go, like Michael Jackson. This is why he's so loved internationally. He went everywhere. He could be in Bucharest one day, Dubai the next day, and then Lima, Peru the next day. Like he got it in, as far as the international scene. This is why you even today, I believe, but definitely like 20 years ago, you could play Michael in any random part of the world and people would start jamming to it. Moonless is Burma's a failed state, definitely. Everyone applauded when that woman who had been under home she had been under home detention for like 20 something years, was freed, and then she ran for president and became the president of Burma, and she received the Nobel Peace Prize for just to allow that little heinous attack of Hindus on Muslims. And this is something people don't know. I was just discussing this with my cousin earlier today at the funeral. Like everyone thinks Muslims, and I said stuff, so people will probably be like, "Well, what? I thought you said f Palestine." I was like, "No, which first of all, no, I didn't." But two, just because I don't agree with the whole free Palestine thing doesn't mean I don't care about Muslims. Like people only care about Muslims when it's white versus brown. They don't care about Muslims in other countries when it's brown versus brown because, like I said, Muslims have been brutally attacked by Hindus in Burma, and people here probably wouldn't understand that because they think Hindus are all like pac- pacifists and stuff. Like, no, they're not. They have been attacking Muslims, which are ethnic minority there, and the then president didn't care and defended the Hindu attacks on him. I'm like, wait, getting? How did you get the Nobel Peace Prize and you are enabling what's going on there? And so there was a military coup, and they ousted her from government and put her back under home home imprisonment or something like that. And the funny thing is, because of how she mismanaged the the uh, the whole strife between the Hindus and Muslims, with the Hindus reviving um, innocent Muslim people because she butchered that. No one had any sympathy for when the military coup took over and put her under house arrest again. And I think she's still under house arrest. Like, how do you go from house arrest for like 20 years, get released, run for office, become president, win a Nobel Peace Prize, fail to stop a you know a civil like pretty much a civil war between two religious factions, actually emboldening one over the other, the one who was in the wrong, by the way. So then a military coup comes in, oust you, and then put you back under house arrest again. That's crazy. And like I said, because she backed those Hindus killing those Muslims, no one has sympathy for her. And it just shows the Nobel Peace Prize is a joke as well, by the way. The only person I think deserved it in the past 15 years or so was the Indian woman Malala. I may be misspelling her name, but I mean mispronouncing her name. I think it was Malala. But a lot of people who received the Nobel Peace Prize don't deserve it. Henry Kissinger definitely didn't back in the 70s. He's a fucking war criminal. Obama didn't. He got a Nobel Peace Prize just for being elected to as president, sort of like the Burmese lady, and then ended up being more of a war hawk than Bush was. It's like I was like, do they not ever rescind these peace prizes? Because he definitely should have got his rescinded for being a war hawk and having his little secret drone war and literally approving blackout missions that even Bush wouldn't approve. And this comes from the Washington Post, not from a right leaning newspaper, but from a left leaning paper. So when the left criticizes him, you know it's a legit um, gripe. Melissa says yes, we did. He said called the red shirt movement. Yep. He said I was here. I was. That's what I was going to ask you. Were you there at that during that military coup in Thailand at the time? So you said you were. Catherine says, "Yo, you're fading in and out again." That's what she said. Fading in and out. There's not. I'm playing. Melissa's our little cat said, "Yo, I'm dead." I know that was funny. Melissa says all of Myanmar is coming here, and I love them for being safe. As long as they don't bring their bullshit with them, though. That's sort of the issue is when you allow in a huge amount of refugees. A lot of those refugees bring a lot of their bullshit with them that caused the ruckus in their country in the first place. Agnes says yes. I just checked. U.S. citizens need an electronic travel authorization to travel to England or transit through the United Kingdom starting January 8th. Next year, I will be having a conference there. Okay. But is that electronic travel authorization, is it a visa or how's that work? And I think the electronic travel authorization, I think this might be a reaction to Trump being in office. That's what it sounds like. This that's what it sounds like to me. One said meth is a powerful drug in the Philippines, Burma, Australia. Well, yes, they call it's a term for meth, a type of meth they make in the Philippines. It's called shabu, um, which is a nickname coming from the type of food. So they call it shabu shabu. But it it because shabu there refers to I think hot pot. I wish I had a Filipino in the chat room to or if my wife was here to talk about that. But shabu, I think, originally referred to like a hot pot, like cooking, like you know how you have the hot. You know, a lot of people know about the hot pot cooking from China and Korea, but they do in the Philippines too. So it became the nickname of the drug, which is for meth. But the reason they call it that, they mix meth with like um I think like with like tea or something, and they call it shabu. But yeah, it's like meth mixed with like tea, or I think coffee, basically with caffeine. It's like meth and caffeine mix, and they call it shabu shabu. And it was one of the focus of the former president Rodrigo Duterte's war on drugs in the Philippines. Was trying to get rid of the widespread use of shabu shabu over there, which again was crystal meth mixed with caffeine, usually like coffee or something like that, which is crazy. Mixing mixing meth and caffeine is, man, that cannot be good. It cannot be good. Catherine says can't hear you well. Can everyone else hear me well? Is it, am I having volume issues with everyone, or is that just with cat guys? Agnes says for work. That's why they were saying we will need the ETA to travel. Okay, so that's the UK starting January. You notice I is very likely it's a reaction to Trump being in office, because notice it goes into effect January 8th, which is 2 days after his inauguration. This is this is a political thing. That's what's going on. It's a political thing. I mean, and I'm going to be completely blunt here. No disrespect to anyone who's British, English, Welsh, Scottish, Irish, whatever. But I don't. UK is not on my fucking wish list of travel destinations. Like the UK is just the US with a better accent. Like I'm sorry, the for the most part, the UK, again, no disrespect to people of the United Kingdom, but for the most part, the UK is just white trash with a better accent. I'm just gonna be completely blunt. The UK is white trash with a better accent. Sorry, I have no desire to go there. It's like that's basically like me traveling to Boston across, like that's like me just traveling across the ocean to go to a better version of Boston. That's what I consider the UK, just a larger, better version of Boston. White trash with a better accent. So let them put an ETA on Americans going there because they are butthurt that Trump got elected. Fuck them. Like by and large, people are not in huge demand of traveling to the UK from America. When we want to travel, for the most part, it's if it's to Europe, it's mostly to the continental Europe, not to the UK. Specifically the Schengen countries, and particularly to a lot of the Eastern European nations. If we're looking for beautiful women, because the women of Eastern Europe look better than the ones of Northern Europe and of Northwest Europe. Like women from Southern Europe and East Europe look better than the women of Northern Europe. I'm sorry, with the exception of Miss Needle. Miss Needle's beautiful and she is mine, guys. But with the exception of Miss Needle, yeah, I mean, no one's checking for the UK as far as, or Northern Europe in general. Like as as far as women, like passport bros and other travelers looking for amor, or looking to Eastern Europe or the Mediterranean for beautiful women. Um, as far as must like desired destinations, for the most part, the UK is not a desired destination by most Americans. So all they're doing is fucking up their tourism by putting on this ETA. Fuck it. Like if they're gonna punish American tourists because they're butthurt over Trump's election, then they can they can go suck on some fish and chips or whatever bullshit they eat over there. Because British cuisine is trash anyway. But again, no disrespect to any of my British viewers. Catherine says, "Yep, keep your crap back in your origin country. Don't bring it with you." Tr- Facts. Agnes says, "Yes, it is a visa." Gotcha. With the ETA guys, the Catherine says there is a massive class difference in the UK. It's visibly noticeable. Oh yeah. Well, because there you actually have like so in America is we have the we pretty much have the same class hierarchy, but here it's de facto. It's a de facto hierarchy. In in the UK, it's a it's it's a part of. It's not just a part of society. It's like it's like how I want to say it. Where like I said, where's the little class struggle here and the difference in socioeconomic status is a de facto thing. Over there is I want to say it's de jure by law, but it's like part of the. I guess what I want to say is it's intentional. Like the class difference in socioeconomic status there is intentional because you have a noble class there. We don't have a noble class in America. What we do have is what we do have is just a bunch of super wealthy people who act as sort of like a as a sort of a sort of like a noble class, but in theory anyone can become a part of it. Like I said, here is a de facto sort of by accident hierarchy amongst the classes, whereas there is very much intentional. So, but even if you go higher up in socioeconomic status level in Britain, for the most part, like I said, most of the country to me is just white trash with a better accent, and that's that's what I stand that's what I stand on. And they're mad right now. Um, like I said, they're going through their issues too. Like people here were laughing when they found out that the number one name in the UK is Muhammad, and people was like, "How the fuck?" In Britain is the number one name is Muhammad. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. My name is Aman, which is a derivative of the term Muhammad, but which is it makes sense because when I took African history class, my professor used to call me Muhammad, and I was like, "Why is this dude calling me Muhammad?" But he was he was a Muslim. He was an African Muslim, and I didn't know why he was calling me Muhammad until I looked up the origins of my name and found out that the name Aman is a derivative of the term Muhammad. So I was like, "Oh, okay, that's probably why he's calling me Muhammad." Either that, or he just was genuinely mistaken about my name. But I think he was intentionally calling me calling me Muhammad because my name is Aman. But I'll take that over someone who just mispronounces my name, which I got that all the time. What time is it, guys? Okay. Yeah, I think by 12 I'm gonna go to bed. Um, Lucky I got in a nap earlier. Like a, I think after everyone left the funeral today, we all had a nap collectively. I slept. It seemed like a long time. I only slept for like less than 2 hours, like an hour and a half. It seemed so long. Pause. But Yeah, if they're gonna punish American tourists because they're butthurt over Trump, then fuck them. Because like I said, it's just gonna hurt their tourism. Because, like I said, UK is not on the top list of most Americans traveling right now. Like typically people in America, especially if you're from the colder parts of the country, which is most of America, by the way. If you're from one of the colder parts of the country, typically when you travel overseas, you want to go somewhere warm. So I think the number one destination for most Americans is really the Caribbean, not Europe. Well, at least not the UK and Europe. I think the top destination is usually somewhere in the Caribbean, like generally, like that whole region of the Caribbean. Um, but as far as crossing the Atlantic, even if you're talking about crossing the Atlantic, I don't think the UK is the top place where most Americans desire to travel. Um, I think continental Europe is probably more popular amongst American tourists than the UK is. And for a lot of Americans, they probably prefer to go to Latin America and Asia over Europe. Again, they want warm places, not colder places than from where they're coming, unless they go to Europe during the summer. Like I said, I don't hear people raving about the UK a lot. Like when I hear people raving about Europe, they're usually talking about Iceland or places, yeah, like going to places like Iceland or Germany, the Netherlands, France, um, places like that. I don't hear so much the UK. I think the UK is kind of played out amongst us because, like I said, it just feels like an extension of the US, especially if you're not, especially if you're seeking to escape the all the woke ideology of America. It's worse in the UK for folks who don't know that. Like the whole white woke ideology is worse in the UK than it is in the US. So people seeking to get away from that aren't clamoring to go to the UK anyway. And so like if the UK is gonna be in their feelings about the current direction of American politics and then punish tourists because of it, then forget about them. Okay. But I think tomorrow, um, I'm gonna focus on a specific region of the world as far as geopolitics. Sort of like what I did with the paranormal stuff. Like I first did like a whole discussion just on paranormal, and then every day thereafter, I sort of did like a specific topic within paranormal. So I'm gonna do the same thing with the geopolitics. And this was Catherine's suggestion, by the way. So shout out to her again for that. But tomorrow I'm gonna probably do a specific discussion and dealing with the geopolitics of the day. Maybe if Miss Nito can come on, I would like to delve just purely into like Germany and the countries surrounding Germany that are having issues. But if not, if she can't be available, then maybe we'll talk about something going on in parts of Asia. So it's not decided yet, but kind of depends on if I can get Miss Nito involved. And I like to delve purely into like talking about the problems in Europe right now, specifically within Germany. She's saying the crumbling government, the energy crisis, stuff like that. So we can just talk about that. But I'm gonna go because I'm not seeing my chat room here, and I don't know if that's either I lost people or what. Oh, by the way, guys, I set this up that I can invite people I can invite people to to go. But if anyone wants to go live with me before we end, I can send you the link. I forgot to do that though. Sorry about that. I completely forgot that I set this up in the beginning that I can invite guests. That's my fault. And I can't. Let me see. I don't think I can. I don't think I can add the link on here. Um, nope. Sorry guys, I'm just experimenting here. Dang it. But yeah, again, but also apologies to Agatha. She was completely right. That they, I think, what got it wrong was she was talking about all of Europe, and it was just particularly the UK. Um, and what people should understand is the UK and the EU are two separate manifestations of Europe. Like even when the UK was part of EU before the Brexit, they still had their own like they still had a very independent government to EU, and they kept their own currency, which was the pound, which was smart on their behalf actually. Um, Although I think they still accepted euros, I'm not sure, but the British pound was still like their currency. They didn't switch it out like Germany switched out the Dutch mark for the euro, or France, switched out the franc for the for the e for the euro. The UK was like, nope, we're keeping our pound. Good thing they did, because that would have been a headache once they had the Brexit. They would have switched back to the old currency, or if they decided, well, we're gonna Brexit, but we're still gonna use the euro. But whatever. Um, if if I'm not responding to any chats, guys, just because I don't see them. The last thing I saw was from Catherine, where she just said cultural. So if there's been any discussion after that, I literally can't see it. Um, yeah, I don't see anything. I don't see any more of the discussion. Oh, here we go. Agnes says if 10 of us going over there late in January, so we have to apply now. How long does it take? Well, yeah, the UK and the rest of Europe is two different things, though. Like I said, the Schengen UK. I don't think it's part of the Schengen countries. I don't know if someone can fact check me on that out, or I can check it out after I get off. Christian, what is your problem, dude? You're fucking retarded. Why does he keep saying I knew I was gonna see you again? Like, you come onto my live, like that's weird as shit. Like, mentally ill, and we getting closer to 12, so it's gonna be more mentally ill people coming on after midnight, which is why I started this early so I can avoid them. Because Saturday night, I would expect there's gonna be a lot of mental midgets coming on after midnight, per usual. Catherine Jesus is also full moon tomorrow. Well, that's not a real thing. It was a full moon today. Like, I saw it during the daytime. I guess it was a. It looked like it was a. It almost looked like it was a lunar eclipse. But yeah, I saw the full moon today. I guess please check it out for me. Well, no, no, I was saying the UK has no, like, what the UK is doing has nothing to do with the other countries. The UK you forgot because of Brexit, they're not part of the EU, so it has nothing to do with what the EU is doing. Remember, Moonlit, Moonlit already, I think it was Moonlit, already checked it out. He was saying that that refers to UK, the whole ETA thing. I just want to see what countries are included in the Schengen countries, particularly because my wife cannot freely travel to the Schengen countries without a visa. Same thing with her coming to America. She has to have a visa. Where one of the reasons the American passport has been so powerful is that it allows us free travel through the Schengen countries. The UK has nothing to do with that. Like as far as like if the UK wants to restrict Americans, that has nothing to do with all those other countries. It's part of the Schengen um, treaty. Oh, Catherine says there are people that are affected by the moon cycles. As the emergency department's always much busier doing. No, it's not. That's a you know too much psychology to believe some of these weird claims. There are those so-called people affected by the moon are just people who are already mentally ill. The full think about it. They're the reason like Neil deGrasse Tyson debunked this long time ago. The same thing with werewolves. There's a full moon everywhere on some part of the world. So why does it just matter that you don't see the full moon where you live that will turn someone into a lycanthrope or a werewolf, but it won't in other regions just because they can't see it when it's literally a full moon there's literally like a full moon somewhere in one part of the world that that is so it's just as easily debunked as astrology for the fact that astrology still believes there's only 12 constellations when we all know from astronomy there's 13 constellations in the zodiac. Not to mention that their star charts rely on fixed star charts from 2,000 years ago, which are where all those freaking constellations have moved since 2,000 years ago. Like easily debunked. Like there's literally a full. There may not be a full moon going on the East Coast, but there's a full moon in the Midwest or in the West Coast. So it doesn't make sense that someone turns into a werewolf or a lycanthrope or becomes loony from the word lunar because of the full moon, but not on other days when there's no full moon, even though there's a full moon somewhere else, like two states away. It doesn't make sense. It's, it's purely it's it's purely it's purely just a case of confirmation bias. Because like I said, there's literally a full moon going on everywhere, every day in some part of the world. So everyone who could be affected by full moon should be affected every day. So it, besides that, it's nothing changing with the moon. It's just your view of it. It's just your view of it depending on your where you are in looking at the ecliptic. So it's complete BS. There's nothing about the moon that affects people's behavior other than people who are mentally ill just use it as an excuse, or people who have issue who already are just mentally ill. It's just like someone mentally ill saying a doll was talking to them and caused them to kill someone. That doll had nothing to do with them killing anyone. They were just already mentally ill. Same thing. Sabrina the doll didn't talk to them and tell them, "You must go kill your family." No, no, no. It's the person was already a fucking schizophrenic twat. Like no, that's easily debunked. let me. I'm about to go, guys. I think it's getting close to midnight. I ain't gonna laugh. Why y'all laughing at me? You know, you ever seen scared? Was it the Wayne brothers scary movie before it was taken over? Like the Wayne brothers were the funniest ones, but then there was a parody of The Exorcist, and it had the original actress playing in the movie, and they had Leslie Nielsen in the movie. I think it was called Repossessed or something like that. And she was acting like she was possessed. She was like, "Cut out the shit." So like the little spirit was supposed to be talking to her, and then the other lady was like, "Cut the shit." Cut. She's like, "Cut that shit out." It was funny. Linda Blair. I think that's the name, right, of the actress from Exorcist, Linda Blair. But yeah, if look, if you're GI Joe, if a bunch of dudes was like, well, my GI Joe told me to go kill and rob, no one's gonna suddenly say, well, GI Joes cause people to go crazy. Like someone has a Duke action figure and a Sergeant Slaughter and Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, and it's talking about you need to go kill everybody because that's half the battle. Yo, Joe. No, that's not happening. Or your Optimus Prime is telling you to go kill people. It's like, well, either Autobots, we roll out and we kill these fools because we are more than meets the eyes because we dab them in the eyes. Like, no, that's no. But let me stop. That's how you don't get tired. I get goofy. But yeah, nah. The Oh, by the way, speaking on the paranormal stuff from the last 3 weeks and talking about and debunking this whole thing that the mooner causes lunacy, I cannot recommend enough that if people were left looking for more information about the paranormal from the last 3 weeks, go to the website, the Skeptics Dictionary. It's an online dictionary of everything paranormal, um, extra scientific, occult, bizarre, whatever, written by the late philosopher Robert T. Carroll. He also has a hard copy version of the book, but it doesn't have as many entries in it as the online version. The online version is free and it has way more entries in it than his hard copy book, but you could buy both. I have the hard copy of his book and his and I he's I've bookmarked his website even though he's been he passed away like 8 years ago. Um, because his estate kept it going so that people can still check it out. He also has a book on critical thinking skills if people want to learn how to think critically. He has two of those and his Skeptics Dictionary book. But anything paranormal people want to talk about, they talk. By the way, he talks about the whole affiliation of the moon with lunacy and all that sort of stuff, and he thoroughly debunks it. So if people want to know about the paranormal, but from a more critical eye, then that's your go-to source for because it's online and it's free. And he's fair, but again he's fair, but he's fair, but he doesn't feed and he's not gonna bullshit you. He's gonna call out stuff where he does. I mean, he's even been critical of psychology at one point, and then he had to change his mind. So, well, psychology is a science, but because of so much bad shit that goes into psychology, because of beliefs like that whole moon thing. Like, you know, he had to get around and see that actual like academic psychologists are very scientific minded people. He even had to change his mind on evolutionary psychology. He thought it was a bunch of BS too, as until he looked into that and said, "Oh no, evolutionary psychology is very well grounded in evolutionary biology." So, it was good to see that he could revise his beliefs in the light of evidence, which is what anyone who does critical thinking and skepticism should be able to do. You should be able to revise your beliefs in the light of evidence. So if you formally believe something, then you have better evidence to show reasons not to any longer accept that belief. That is the rational thing to do. And vice versa. If you formally disbelieve something and the light of evidence shown that no, actually this claim is probably true, so that you then do accept it, that is also the rational thing to do. And I'm gonna try to invoke those same sort of critical thinking skills and skepticism into this talk of geopolitics as well. It's going to be a little bit harder just because I have less background in some of these things that's going on across the world. But as skepticism is a sort of attitude, it can be used anywhere. And as critical thinking skills is a conceptual tool set that can be used anywhere as well. So again, expect me to be still using that sort of skeptical mindset in in the discussion of geopolitics. Like I said, so for instance, with the UK, it's like it's obvious that it's not just coincidental that this ETA goes into effect January 8th, right around the time that Donald Trump has been inaugurated is going to be inaugurated into his presidency. It seems that basically this is a reaction to that. So we'll see how that goes. But again, I think the UK is just hurting their American tourism by doing so because, again, by and large, most American tourists are not pining to go to the UK. The the biggest destination for Americans traveling is usually the Caribbean, and then if you're talking about overseas, it's it's still not the UK. And even when you factor in just going to Europe, I don't. It's not the UK because again, I thought I was alone in my thinking about this, but when I talk to other passport brothers, they agree with me as well that for the most part, going to the UK is like just going to a glorified Boston. I'm sorry. And again, no diss to the actual British followers, 'cause I have a good number of British followers on here, but for the most part, going to the UK is just like going to a glorified Boston, and that's if people don't get the reference, it's not a good thing. It's not a flex to say that somewhere is just a glorified Boston. That's not a good connotation. But anywho, I guess I'm gonna go because Sabrina the doll didn't tell me to stay on any longer. She told me I should leave before things get hectic because she wants some quiet time. So I have to listen to Sabrina the doll. And if people wonder why I got the name Sabrina the doll, um, check out some Indonesian horror films and you'll probably get where I'm coming from with that joke. Because it wasn't, I didn't make that name up randomly. I'm getting that from an Indonesian horror film. There's three of them called The Doll. So, um, with that being said, unless there's any further questions or comments, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna give it a second. I'm gonna give it like 1 minute to wrap up, And again, I apologize yesterday for anyone waiting for me to come on yesterday for the live stream. I just got too tired, so once I did my late night run, I wanted to settle in for the night, knowing that I had this funeral today. So early this morning, because I had to be gone by 8:15, and I wanted to get up early and do my run. I run for over an hour, so you know, there you go. But any questions or comments from anybody on anything? It doesn't just have to be about geopolitics or Europe. Any last questions whatsoever? If not, so forever hold your peace. How is Misty your cat? Oh, she's doing fine. Did you see the picture of my Filipino cat? Um, I don't. They gave all of the cats and dogs Filipino names. So my wife and I's dog is named Dago. His mom name is Ding Ding or something like. I don't know, something weird. And the cat is Moi Moi. Like, why did I name that cat Moi Moi? Oh, the cat's fine. She's not sick. She hasn't been sick, like that was like 2 weeks ago. And it pissed me off when someone was like, "You need to remove all the plastic." And I'm like, "How?" Literally everything. I was like, "I don't know what country this person is coming from, but literally everywhere in the house is something made of plastic. It would be impossible to remove all the well, not impossible, but it would just be completely impractical to remove everything with plastic in the in the house." So I was like, "What are you talking about?" No, she hasn't been sick for like weeks. We we were just like, I was uh we just keep trying to tell her to stop chewing on plastic because for one, it's annoying because she leaves her little bite marks all over the tablecloths, like because there's a tablecloth and then it's like a plastic covering over the tablecloth or on the chair or the whatever or on a trash bag, like anything is plastic she'll try to chew on it and like stop. But she's fine. She hasn't been sick for 4 weeks. And when she was, it was only for like a day or two. It wasn't so bad like she had to go to the hospital like that one time we had to take her. And that's because they found like a bunch of stuff in her stomach that she ate. She's fine. And I think the last time she was sick, I don't even think it was plastic. I think she was chewing on something outside on the patio, which might have been like leaves or plants or something. 'Cause that can get them sick too, chewing on like, random plants or leaves. Like you can't control what cats nibble on throughout the day. Like it's impractical because no one's gonna stay home all day and babysit a cat and make sure they're not doing something they're not supposed to do. Cats are gonna be cats. So, but yeah, on that note, I'm gonna go talk to you later. I got this past midnight, and this is when all the weirdos start to come on. Especially being a Saturday, this is when all these little mentally ill people is like, oh, they be like, oh, I'm schizo, I'm bipolar, it's my time to shine. Like, no, not on this live stream, you won't. So I'm gonna go before all those little lunatics, full moon or not, all these lunatics come up on here. All right, but thanks, guys. I'll talk to you later. And anyone else, you can hit me up on my social media platforms that I have in the links in my description. Other than that, I'm out. Thanks, guys.